Good morning, everyone. This is Shivani Agarwal. I am the faculty of Department of Information Technology, Ajay Kumar Garg Engineering College, Ghaziabad. So, my next topic is the requirement engineering. That is the next topic of requirement engineering. So, let's start. So, we already discussed the first technique of the illustration technique, that is the interview technique. Now, we have to start with the next technique, that is the brainstorming sessions. So, basically, what is brainstorming session? Brainstorming means it is a problem solving technique. When a group is assigned for taking a problem, so we have to discuss each and everyone give the ideas for that particular problem. So, it is known as the problem solving technique with the group of with a number of pupils in a group. So, it is a group technique, it is a group discussion. There are basically two parts. Group discussion are the two parts. First is the new ideas quickly. Just a minute. First is new ideas quickly. Second is creative thinking. These two basic things we have to emphasize that time we have to discuss about the problem in a group. So basically it is a group technique or it is a problem solving technique that is contribute with the defined group. Each and every person give the view of that particular problem, give the idea of that particular problem, give the solutions of that particular problem. So we have to find out the best solution from the discussion or the brainstorming sessions. So basically it prepare a long list of requirements. Those requirements are basically find out for that particular system. So we have to categorize these requirements. So these are the categorized requirements, which those requirements are prioritized. Which how the requirement is very important, which requirement is important, which requirement is the highest priority, which requirement is the lowest priority. So we have to define all the requirement with the priority wise. Third is the prune requirements, which requirement is customer want first. So these are the prune requirements. So basically, idea to generate views, not to vet them. So these are the brainstorming sessions. So basically, there are the number of groups. First is the user groups. These are the customers. Second is the middle level management, means these are the group of customers, those have the less experience with respect to the managers. These are the high experience with the person level management. So these are the middle level management. And total stakeholders, those are directly or indirectly involved of that particular project. So these are the stakeholders, those are also present in the group discussion part. So these are the brainstorming sessions. Now third technique, that is the facilitated approach, that is FAST. FAST means facilitated application specification technique. So this is the FAST. FAST is completely similar to the brainstorming sessions, but it is a team approach. In this particular technique, we have to define the agenda of the meeting. We already defined the agenda of the meeting with respect to the users, stakeholders, or the middle level management persons. So we have to define a document that have the rules, that have the defined approach, that have the methodology for preparing or for defining the number of requirements according to the categorized form or the prioritized form. So these are the basic of the FAST technique. So there is use of facilitator. Facilitator means a person that handles that particular group with free from conflicts, free from biased, and free from number of techniques that defined by the every person. So we have to focus on carefully for defining the basic agenda of those requirements. So facilitator may follow a published agenda. That agenda we have to publish before the meeting starts. So the basic fundamental step of the facilitator is that it published the agenda part. Now the second is every idea will be documented in a way. For example, if one person define a solution of that particular problem, so that person have define the idea in the documented form, in the report form, so that each and every person have that particular report for catching the fundamental step or the fundamental view of that particular solution of the problem. So this is the second thing. Now third is a detailed report is prepared. Detailed report means each and every person idea have to prepared in the documentation form that defined by the facilitator. So this is the basic fundamental step of the FAST technique. Now the view of the FAST technique. So FAST technique is a teamwork approach that are used for collecting all the requirements. Second is it is a bridge, or it is define the, or it is neglect the gap between the user and the developer. It complete all the expectations of the users. So the basic guidelines of the FAST are: first is meetings are conducted in a neutral site. That means each and every person that are involved in a group have a space, have a defined rule, have a approach, have a methodology for define the basic fundamental steps of that particular problem, or define the solution of that particular problem. So this is the basic thing. Now second is establish the rules for preparation and the participation. So each and everyone know about the basic rule of that particular meeting. They know about the agenda of that meeting. They know about the requirements of that particular meeting. They know about the problem statement of that particular meeting. So these are the basic rules. Now the agenda is that these meetings are functionally covers all the points. Those are covered by the customers and developers. So these are the basic fundamental steps. So those are used in the FAST technique. Now the goal of the FAST sessions. So FAST session main goal is the problem identification. What is the problem that is discovered by the developer, and what is the role of the customer, what are the requirements of the customer, those are identified by the developer side. Now the second is the solution of the requirements. There are many number of solutions are present by each and every developer, and the rule book are prepared by the facilitator and find the best solution for that particular problem. Now third is the purpose elements of the solution. So basically we have to define each and every element of that particular solution. So we have to discuss about the purpose of that particular solution, which particular solution is very important or not. Now next is the negotiate different approach. Each and every approach we have to negotiate it. Each and every approach we have to negotiate it with different approaches. So these are the basic goals of the FAST sessions. Now after the initial meeting, what happened? Basically user and developer should write 1 or 2 page product request report. When each and every discussion is established, then the facilitator define a report that is 1 or 2 page documentation. This report is completely discussed with the presence of all the stakeholders or all the committee members. Those have to discuss the solution of that particular problem and find out the best solution of that particular problem after the meeting disputes. Now, before the next meeting, it is distributed to all other attendees, because this report we have to given to all the presentees. Those are present the solution of that particular problem. Each attendee has some following list, that is list of objects, those are defined for the solution of that particular problem, list of services, those are used for completing that particular solution, and list of constraints. Those constraints we have to discuss for defining that particular problem, or defining the rules of that particular problem, and the performance criteria. How we have to increase the performance of that particular problem, how we have to resolve the problem. So we have to improve the performance of by the solution of that particular problem. Now the representatives of FAST. First representative is marketing person. Which person we have to represent for the solution of that particular FAST technique, or the problem of that particular software. Second is software and hardware engineers. Third is representative from manufacturing, and the fourth is outside facilitators. So these are the basic representatives, those are used in the FAST technique. So basically, in the start of the discussion, the need and the justification of that particular problem is must. So what is the need of that particular problem? What are the justification point that we have to discuss about this particular problem? And the participant list, those how many numbers of participants are present for discussion about these problems, the agreement between the user and the customer is prepared or not, and the combination list, those are discussed with the fundamental steps, with the need, and with the performance criteria of that particular solution of the problem. So these are the basic fundamentals, those are used in the FAST technique. So the basic guidelines for the meetings. So first is arrange a meeting at a neutral site, means anyone have the responsibility about the agenda of the meeting, everyone know about the agenda of the meeting, everyone discuss the need of that particular problem, everyone know about the solution of that particular problem, but the solutions are maybe differ. Second is establish the rule for participation. Each and every person know about the rules, how we have to present the solution of that particular problem, how we have to present the report of that particular problem, so everyone know about the rules. Second is the informal agenda to encourage free flow of ideas. Everyone free to present your ideas with a defined format. So each and everyone have a informal, there is no formal agenda, there is a informal agenda for flowing the ideas or for preparing the ideas for that particular problem. Now next is the appoint a facilitator, because the facilitator is a person that define or collect all the reports or all the fundamental steps by each and every person and define a collective report. So this is the appointing a facilitator. Now the prepared a definition mechanism board, that means it prepares the documentation. This is either in the doc form, either in the worksheet form, or in the sticker form. So this is the basic of the prepared definition format. Now the participants should not criticize or debate. Each and everyone have the right to present the idea, but there are no debate between the participants. So these are the basic of the guidelines for the meeting. Now the FAST session preparation. So FAST session preparations are, first step is part of environments that surround the system. Which part you have to define for solve that particular problem. Second thing is that produced by the system. The system is defined the rules of that particular software. Third is used by the system, the user have defined the rules. Fourth is the constraints, those constraints are defined by the developers, by the customers. So the developers develop the system by use these particular constraints. Now the functions and the performance criteria. So each and every function of that particular module are defined purposely, and we have to improve the performance according to the user or according to the best solution. So these are the basic preparation of the FAST session techniques. Now the activities of FAST sessions. So first activity is that every participant present his or her list. The list of documents, the list of objects, the list of solutions that the presenter presents. So this is the first activity that we have to prepare by the FAST session. Second is the combined list for each topic. Each and every topic we have to combine by the facilitator or by the participant individually. Now the discussion. Each and every one discussion the solution of that particular problem, so that we have to find the best solution for that particular problem. Now the consensus list. Consensus list means we have to define and discover what the user actually wants and what the user doesn't want, and which solution we have to discuss more with respect to the performance criteria. Now the next is the sub teams for the mini specifications, and the next is the presentations of the mini specification. That means we have to define a sub team with respect to the main presenter. So each and everyone define the main objective or keep the objective for that particular problem and present the solution of that particular problem. Now the validations, how many validations you have to define in a project. So these are the basic activities of the fast session. Now the next technique is the QFD. QFD is quality function development. This is totally incorporates the voice of the customer. That means it is totally depend the customer satisfaction. When the solution of the problem that incorporates or defined by the developer, but the customer not satisfy that particular problem. So the purpose of that the purpose of that particular problem is completely discomfortable. So these solutions are completely dependent on the customer satisfaction. When the customer is not satisfied with that particular defined solution, so the purpose of or the solution of the problem is completely restless. So these are the basic fundamental steps of the QFD. So these are covered the three requirements. First is the normal requirements, second is the expected, and third is the exciting requirements. So basically, developer always wants that the customer how we have to define the requirements of the customer and how we have to get the satisfaction of the customer, how we have to satisfy the customer in the highly respective manner. So these are the some fundamental steps that we have to keep the developer's mind. First is the normal requirements. Those are defined by the customer. So this is a normal requirement. Expected, the customer define the requirements, but these requirements are in the fruitful way, like as a pie chart, graph chart, bar chart. So the customer easily find out the solutions of the problem in a very defined way. So these are the expected requirements and the exciting requirements. Some requirements, those the user doesn't think that requirement is generally defined by the developer, or the solution of that problem defined by the developer in a very fruitful way. So these are the exciting requirements. So these are the basic requirements that is defined by the developer side. So some fundamental steps are that first is identify the stakeholders. Those persons, those are directly or indirectly related with the system. So we have to first identify the stakeholders, those are completely involved in the system or that particular problem. Now find out the requirements, list of requirements, which type of requirements the customer wants and how we have to solve these particular requirements. So these are the list of requirements, and these list of requirements we have to categorize by the priority basis. So this is the list of requirements. Now third is the degree of importance of each requirement, that is the priority level, which requirement is completed first and which is second and which is third. So these are the priorities of the requirements. So these are the basic steps of the QFD. Now the last approach is the use case approach. Use case means that that particular approach defined by the Jacobsons, because this particular use case approach we have to define by use of the number of model steps or the diagrams that we have to involve for defining the requirements in a graphical form. So this is the use case approach. So basically some terms those are used in the use case. Use case means is defined by the UML language form, that is the Unified Modeling Language form, and we have to summarize each and every requirement in the diagrammatic form by defining some terms that we have to involve for or representing the use case diagram. So these are, first is actors that are used for defining the user's interaction with the system, that may be a person, may be an organization or any outside person, those are directly involved with the system. So this is the actors. Now the system means we have a specific sequence of actions, those are interacted between the actors and the system. Now the goals means we have the resultant of that particular problem. So we know about the description of that particular system. So we know about the activities and the variants of that particular system to reach the goal. Now next is the use cases. Use cases means these are the horizontally shaped ovals that we have to represent of different users that the user might have. Associations means the connections between the users and the system. These are the associations. System boundary, that we have to define the scope of the system. So this is the system boundaries. Packages means the YAML shape that allow you to different elements of that particular system. So these are the use cases. So this is the example of the use case diagram. So these are the actors. These are the actors. This is the basically system boundary. This is the system boundary. So this system boundary we have to define with the number of actions, with number of use cases with the connected with the association lines. So these are the basically, and there are two fundamental uses, that is the include and the exclude. So is include and excluded or extend we have to define with respect to the use cases. For example, suppose these are the use case diagram of the website. So these are the site user and the webmaster. Webmaster, this is the admin, this is the user basically. So what the user want with the system, this is the search of the document, browse the document, view the events and login and upload the documents. And what are the basic criteria of the admin part? So these documents are uploaded or not, manage the folder. So this is the extended way that we have to manage the document. Those are uploaded by the users. So these are the managed folder. This is also a use case but in the extended form. And the post new event to the home page and end user. So these are the basic of the system boundaries that represent the use case diagram. These are the examples of the use cases. So I think this is very good lecture for the requirement engineering illustration techniques. So all we have discussed with all the techniques of the requirement illustration. So thank you for this particular lecture.